This is going to sound ridiculous, but it's true. Getting a six-pack is easier if you have a great love life. I'll explain that in a few. Longevity is also more likely if you are great at loving others and loving yourself. I mean, we know this intuitively, but you and I have kind of lost touch with our bodies quite a bit. So many of us, we simply don't connect the dots. Yes, I mean, people who are in loving relationships are much more likely to live longer. And according to research published in The Lancet, people with high levels of social support are 50% more likely to survive after a heart attack than those with low levels of social support. Furthermore, a study in JAMA Network Open found that individuals who reported being happily married had a 20% lower risk of dying over a 20-year period compared to those who were not married at all. Studies have consistently shown that individuals who have strong social relationships, including romantic love, tend to live longer. For instance, a landmark study published in the journal PLOS Medicine found that individuals with strong social ties had a 50% increased likelihood of survival compared to those with weaker social ties. It also leads to better heart health and reduced risk of chronic disease. A study published in the Journal of Cardiovascular Medicine indicated that married individuals have a lower risk of heart disease compared to their unmarried counterparts. This is, of course, thought to be true because of the emotional support and stress reduction provided by a loving partner. A loving partner. That's the key word. And there are also mental health benefits. Strong relationships have a significant impact on mental health. A meta-analysis published in Clinical Psychology Review found that individuals with strong social support have a 50% reduced risk of developing depression and anxiety. Emotional support from a partner can buffer against the negative effects of stress and enhance mood stability. We all know this to be true, but what you're doing instead is focusing on going to the gym to get a six-pack, to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And that's fine too, but let me kind of expand on that. If you're in love, you feel a sense of bliss that comes alongside. You are, in fact, in a healthier state. Yes, I mean, your mental well-being is so optimal, it has a direct impact on your hormones. I mean, you'll be gushing with oxytocin. You know, you feel uplifted and motivated, some of which is related to the additional release of the neurotransmitter dopamine. And I don't know about you, but as I'm in a constant state of love with my wife, really, I am motivated to take care of myself to a greater degree, so I live longer for her and ensure that she's certainly physically attracted to me. I'm also motivated around longevity for my kids and my friends. In addition, being in that state improves brain function, heart health, stress reduction, immune function, pain management, and definitely mental well-being by reducing anxiety and depression. And it all, of course, impacts self-esteem. Really, I hope you all have an Alice in your corner someday. That's my wife's name. I mean, just a look from her and things are going to be fine for me. I really don't deserve her. But now consider the opposite. If you're in a toxic relationship or right out of a nasty breakup, you can feel it also in your body and is likely having a negative impact on your health. Take every one of those points with the opposite impact. You can't think clearly. Your heart is broken. You feel it in your throat, in your chest, in your gut. I mean, you more easily get sick. Your body hurts if you can break away from the emotional distress and actually think about your body. And all the while you feel anxiety, depression, and a loss of self-esteem, a distinct loss of self-esteem. It's hard, but it's not just the relationship you're in, but who you are in the relationship. And that you can control. So let's break this down a bit further so you can take some action. We'll talk about the Greeks. They have 8 variations of love, 5 of which help you get to a state of optimal well-being and therefore peak health overall. But 4 you can actually influence. One of the 5, though, is the love from your parents. Because you can't control that, we're going to focus only on those 4. So this is an introspective exercise, one which I would suggest to at least annually take an inventory of how you're doing. The first one is agape. This selfless, unconditional love can significantly impact mental health by fostering a sense of purpose and belonging. People who practice agape may experience lower levels of stress. How do you practice? You put the needs of others ahead of your own. Be gracious and generous. Personally, I practice this through philanthropy. Even when I had very little to give, both in terms of my time and money, I did it anyway. And without really expecting anything in return, it's been transformative in my relationships and even my business. It's something I really didn't expect. And you hear that same story, that same statement from most extremely successful people. A guy named Joe Polish out of Arizona even wrote a book about it. It's called What's in It for Them. Highly recommend it. Yes, I mean, giving transforms you and how you occur to others in the world. The second form of love is called philia, friendship. It's crucial for mental and emotional health. Strong friendships can provide emotional support, decreasing feelings of loneliness, increasing feelings of belonging, and increasing feelings of purpose. Research has shown that having a close network of friends can help reduce stress, improve mood, and even increase longevity. Pragma, long-term love that evolves from pragma, involving deep understanding and mutual respect, contributing to emotional stability, and can be profoundly soothing and supportive. Couples in long-term committed relationships often experience better physical health, less stress, and longer lives compared to those who are single. This is an area of my life where I feel like I am blessed well beyond what I deserve. Every day I thank God for my wife. She looks at me with such admiration, such love, and is so supportive and equally demanding. She looks at me like she looks at her dog Mango. But you can't get any higher than that. She makes me better in all ways, and I aspire to deserve her and hope that all of my friends and family experience that someday for themselves if they don't already have it. I have many wonderful parts of my life, including, of course, being a father, and she is at the top. And the last one is philautia. I strongly believe this last form of love is how you practice loving others. Love of self. Healthy self-love is essential for well-being. It encourages self-care, fosters self-esteem, and supports mental health. When people value themselves and have high self-esteem, they are more likely to make healthy choices, and they're less likely to succumb to things like depression and anxiety. My favorite way in which to practice this includes all tools for mental well-being. There's certainly traditional talk therapy. There's my favorite, which is ketamine-assisted therapy. There's something called the Pennebaker writing protocol. Certainly breath work. Many of you have probably practiced that. Meditation. Exercise does this as well. Prioritizing sleep. Eating well. Eating really high-quality foods. Getting tested for all of the metrics on my wheel of health. You need to keep your cup full. Love yourself. And if you don't yet, practice. I love myself. I describe my relationship with my wife on the positive side. But what if the breakup of a romantic relationship, what if that happens? I remember my girlfriend dumping me in Chicago when I was younger. I was devastated. She broke my heart, and I was left by myself in a new city without many friends yet. I was alone, and I was lonely and heartbroken. So what did I do? I stayed alone, was moderately depressed, stopped exercising, and began eating comfort foods like French fries and ice cream. I mean, that's kind of the normal response. I'm sure you can relate to that. But you can see how this had an impact on my mental well-being because of the breakup. But everything is further exacerbated by the inflammation from both the lack of exercise and the poor food quality, which is the beginning of the downward spiral. And that's what you want to avoid. So your very first step, you must learn how to love yourself. All of the traditional methods like talk therapy may work for you, but as well, the burgeoning field of psychedelic assisted therapy is fascinating to me because it helps you progress so much more quickly. And from my personal experience with ketamine, which is an entirely different video, it enabled me to take an objective look at myself, learn more about who I am, forgive myself for my shortcomings, drop the associated shame of all of that, see the good I actually bring to the world, and love myself for who I am, all through this concept of neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to create new neural connections. And that tees me up to accomplish and experience so much more of my life, and it will do for you too. Number 2, grow up and develop a greater sense of self-awareness. and that'll enable you to love yourself. The same methods can help you mature and see yourself for who you are. Recognize those reoccurring negative thought patterns that spin around in your head all the time that inform your behavior. Those thought patterns where you're hypercritical of others over which you have no control. Turn the focus inward. Work on yourself. That's the grow up part. Here are some inexpensive methods to get to know yourself. Number 1, take the DISC test. It's a personality test, or there are many others like it. Take any of them. Number 2, the Strengths Finder test. That's a fascinating, different angle or a different look at yourself and getting to know yourself. Grow up and develop a greater sense of self-awareness to enable you to love yourself. I mean, the same methods can help you mature and see yourself for who you are. Recognize those reoccurring negative thought patterns where you're hypercritical of others too much and not looking inward. The idea in this exercise is to forget about the people that you don't have any control over and focus on yourself. Develop some greater self-awareness and work on yourself. Focus on the things that you actually have control of, because you can't really love yourself without knowing who you even are. As I spend so much time with younger people in my business and my kids, it's very clear that they really don't know who they are. And that is the first target. You have to unearth who you are. It could take decades. The idea is to put the work in. The third option is to take direct action on improving your mental well-being. Because if you have mental illness issues, or you're not even fully optimized from a mental well-being standpoint, you're not going to be able to understand really fully who you are and how powerful you really are. So there are a bunch of proven methods, and here are my favorites. Meditation, by far, is one of the greatest, cheapest methods to really understand who you are. Mindfulness meditation specifically. Number 2, ketamine-assisted therapy, I think is very, very powerful. Better sleep, because you just can't process anything really if you're not sleeping well and not recovering. And breath work, they're great tools to developing an impact on your state of mental well-being, making it easier to learn how to love better. And number 4 is take indirect action on improving your mental well-being, which will make it easier to love others. Because if you're in a state of exceptional mental well-being, you're frankly emotionally and psychologically attractive to the other sex or the same sex. These things are the most exciting to me because you have so much control over them and they're so easy to implement. So the first one is lift weights. Of course, it will not only lower your inflammation, it will make you feel better. It will also improve your self-esteem, which is a critical component of exceptional mental well-being, and therefore critical in order to love other people. The second one is cardiac output training. You have to develop your heart and lungs so that you can fully recover, so you can put more work in, so you can do more things. From my personal experience, great heart and lung conditioning puts me in a state of hope, feeling like I can accomplish a lot because I just have this larger engine than most people have. So develop your heart and lungs by doing cardiac output training. The third is mobility training. Having joint pain will definitely inhibit your ability to love yourself and love others. Being in any sort of chronic or constant pain, whether it's minor or major, will have an impact on that. So always do some work every week. I spend 2 hours a week doing mobility work and little tiny increments of time throughout the course of the week, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, stretching and doing the mobility homework that my mobility team gives me from Stark. Quality nutrition. If you're eating really well, you're not in a state of chronic inflammation. If you're not in a state of chronic inflammation, your brain works better. If your brain works better, your mental well-being is going to be improved, physiologically speaking. And that will make it easier to love yourself and love others. Walking more. When you walk more, your joints will thank you. And when you walk more, you will be shocked at how you can maintain lean muscle mass, which is really important in terms of overall health, but you'll also lose body fat. And there's an indirect impact that it has on your self-esteem as a result of that. It's very powerful. It's hard to have the time to do it. And so as you see me on Instagram and other social media platforms, I'm completely integrating moving into my work schedule and my personal schedule. Tuning up your gut health with a good doctor that knows how to test it properly with a stool test and prescribe the right probiotics or anything else that you need to improve gut health, like fiber. The reason that's so important is because if you can't absorb the high quality nutrients that you're putting into your mouth, you're not going to be able to be healthy. Your brain's not going to work well. Your body's not going to perform well. And you're going to be discounted in really every part of your life. Definitely will have an impact on your ability to love yourself and to love others. Stress management through meditation and good sleep hygiene. It's really important. If you are a stress case and you are suboptimal in terms of your hormones, like your primary stress hormone, cortisol, is constantly kind of hitting the ceiling, people can feel it. It makes them nervous. It rubs off on them, and they're not going to want to be around you, and you're not going to like yourself as much. You have to learn how to keep your stress in proper context or proper perspective. You can change that through a lot of the same tactics like exercise, meditation, better sleep hygiene. You have to manage your stress in order to be really good at loving others. So those will all really help with your mental well-being indirectly and directly, and enable you to be great at loving people, which I think is kind of a skill, sort of like the way I see health in total. And the resilience that those tools create will enable you to withstand those romantic breakups that can be so difficult and can be so devastating to your health otherwise. So if you've studied the blue zones, by the way, do not be swayed by the nutrition that they're connecting with longevity. I don't buy that stuff at all. If you watched the Netflix series or you read the book, but there is a common thread that runs through all of those blue zones, and that's that they have this deep sense of love that's very holistic, meaning they may still have romantic love. They definitely have familial love. They definitely have the love of friends, and they have a tremendous amount of purpose that comes along with all of that. And that literally keeps them alive longer. So the centenarians that are highlighted in the blue zones, they not only live longer, but they do it with more joy. You can really see it in their eyes. I want some of that. So I'm trying to learn from their wisdom from all the years that they've been alive. And that seems to me to be the most obvious feature among all of those blue zones. So in summary, love is such a powerful tool in the pursuit of peak health. I don't think you can land in a state of peak health without being really, really good at loving others. And it's an area in which you have a great deal of control, which is not something that most people really consider. I think most think that love happens to them, and it doesn't. Love is something that you do to yourself, and then you can do it to others. So assess how you're doing in those 4 types of love and take action to improve them.